Welcome to the Deep Dive. We take your research, your notes, all that source material, and we turn it into the shortcut you need to be, well, really deeply informed on a topic.
And today, we're diving into Pakistan.
Yeah, a nation that seems almost defined by its contradictions.
Yeah.
Huge, spectacular contradictions. Our mission here is to use these firsthand accounts, this high-level analysis we've got, to really understand the power structures, those ideological battles.
And I think the resilience, too. How does this massive state keep going?
Exactly. Because the sources today, they're incredibly rich, aren't they?
They really are. I mean, you're talking about nearly a decade of reporting from a correspondent who was truly on the ground.
Not just visiting.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Living there, traveling through the tribal areas, the big cities, navigating that really volatile political scene right up until he got kicked out.
Which is where this whole thing kicks off, really. It's pure paradox. Think about Lahore, May 2013.
Right. Historic election. First successful civilian transfer of power.
Tens of millions voting, celebrations everywhere, Sharif's banners on motorbikes. You know, the Teflon tiger is back. Democracy feels real.
But at that exact moment, the reporter covering all this, he's stuck, confined to his room in the Avari Hotel, this grand place in Lahore.
Listening to the cheers from the street.
Yeah, while two, let's say, unsmiling guys in plain clothes are standing guard outside his door, ISI operatives.
Inner Services Intelligence. He can order room service, apparently, but he can't leave.
And that presence, the ISI, it's one of the first big takeaways from the sources, isn't it? You see these guys everywhere.
Like pigeons on a power line, one description said. Just watching, taking notes.
And Pakistanis have this amazing euphemism for them, Farishte.
Angels.
Angels. It's got that double edge, though. On one hand, it refers to the white clothes they sometimes wear, the traditional shalwar kameez.
But the real meaning.
The real meaning is about their power. Their uncircumscribed, almost godlike power. They're seen as the shadow government that's everywhere, knows everything. Preternatural, you might say.
So this correspondent, nearly 10 years reporting for big papers like The Guardian, The New York Times, he's dealt with the usual stuff, right? Phone tapping.
Oh, yeah. Emails intercepted, politicians threatening massive lawsuits. The standard playbook.
But then, boom, expulsion order and the charge.
Just undesirable activities, completely vague, impossible to disprove.
And that timing.
Mm.
Getting kicked out right at the moment of this huge democratic success after years of being, well, tolerated, even if watched.
It says everything, doesn't it? He clearly poked some unexpectedly tender spot, as the source puts it, something the ISI just wouldn't let him explore further.
That inability to separate the democratic process from the military control lurking behind it, that's the core contradiction we need to dig into.
Absolutely. Which brings us perfectly to our next section, this pervasive military shadow and how Pakistan engages with the world, especially that relationship with the U.S.
Yeah, the U.S.-Pakistan relationship, often called a bad marriage in diplomatic circles.
But the sources are blunter. They say it's more like the worst kind of forced marriage.
Ouch. Not built on shared values, then.
Not really, no. It was always about shared interests, usually temporary ones. Think Cold War, anti-Soviet jihad in Afghanistan, those kinds of things.
Right, let's trace that back. It started small, didn't it? That secret U.S. base in Peshawar in the 50s.
Yeah, but the really defining period was the 1980s, the Afghan war against the Soviets.
That's when the CIA and the Saudis just poured money and weapons through the ISI.
Billions, cash, stingers, all funneled to the Mujahideen. Pakistan became absolutely central to U.S. foreign policy goals, a frontline state.
But then, almost immediately after the Soviets left,
The relationship fractured. Washington slapped sanctions on Pakistan over its nuclear program. A total reversal.
and that really created this deep sense of betrayal in Pakistan, didn't it?
Absolutely. The feeling was, we did the dirty work, we destabilized ourselves for your war, and now you just discard us.
There were those crude jokes going around Islamabad.
Yeah, about being treated like a used condom. Awful. But it captured the sentiment, and that feeling directly fueled their push for the nuclear bomb. They tested it 8 years later. It was pure defiance.
So this cycle of cooperation and betrayal, the sort of transactional tension, it defines everything.
Pretty much. It shapes the day-to-day reality in Islamabad. The sources talk about constant, tedious espionage, tit-for-tat harassment.
Like that Indian diplomat whose electricity got cut off by the ISI during her Sunday brunch?
Exactly. And her reaction was just a shrug. We do the same to their people in New Delhi. It's just part of the background noise. Constant, expensive, often petty spying.
Okay, so the ISI is this dominant force. But it's crucial for you, the listener, to understand they're not necessarily some super efficient, flawless machine, right?
That's a key point. Their reputation is omnipotent. Tapping phones, reading emails, funneling cash to political parties, manipulating elections. They're called a state within a state for a reason. The power is immense. But the reality, according to the sources, is often messy. Riddled with bungling and corruption is the phrase used. Operations can be clumsy, internal processes are murky, leading to big mistakes.
And their analysis isn't always sharp either.
No, because of ideology. A senior British official compared them to the KGB during the Cold War, seeing everything through predetermined ideological prisms.
So they miss things. They misread situations.
Often. They fail to predict shifts or understand internal politics if it doesn't fit their rigid worldview. They're like puppet masters who can't control their puppets. It creates this chaos where their power is often misused or just ineffective.
That dynamic sounds perfectly illustrated by Pervez Musharraf. He's the guy who kicked out Nawaz Sharif back in '99.
Right, and initially Musharraf was actually quite good at PR.
Yeah, he projected that image.
Yeah.
The modern general, bit of a rogue, played golf, smoked cigars.
And don't forget the dogs. Posing publicly with his Pekingese Dot and Buddy.
Which sounds trivial, but it infuriated conservative clerics who see dogs as impure. It was a deliberate signal.
He was trying to charm everyone, West and East. But the Democratic stuff didn't last long.
No, he leaned heavily on the military, on the ISI, to fix elections. That ridiculous referendum giving him 98% approval.
Classic strongman stuff. By 2007, though, his grip was clearly loosening. International patience was wearing thin.
To the point where Condoleezza Rice had to basically tell him, don't do anything stupid, like imposing emergency rule.
Which, of course, he promptly ignored. He panicked, suspended the Constitution late in 2007, sacked the entire Supreme Court.
Thinking that would crush the opposition.
Exactly. But it backfired spectacularly. It actually ignited the very resistance he feared, especially among the lawyers. It set the stage for a lot more chaos.
So the ISI's meddling, Musharraf's authoritarian streak, it's all part of this larger battle over what Pakistan is, isn't it?
Precisely. And that struggle goes right back to the founder himself.
Which takes us nicely into Section 3, this fundamental clash. Jinnah's original idea versus the radical forces trying to reshape it, the Red Mosque siege being a stark example.
Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the Quaid-e-Azam, great leader. He's revered, obviously, but often in a very sanitized way.
School kids get the pious version, the neat, tidy thinker.
Yeah, the guy lecturing on cleanliness. But the real Jinnah, he was far more complex, deeply cosmopolitan.
Married a Parsi woman, Ruddy Dinshaw, much younger than him, who was then disowned by her family.
Lived a very high society life.
Yeah.
Cigars, wine, expensive bespoke suits. He embodied a certain kind of modernity.
And crucially, his vision for Pakistan.
Unambiguously secular. There's no real debate about that based on his key speeches. August 11th, 1947, just 3 days before independence.
That's the big one.
That's the one. He told the Constituent Assembly, crystal clear, you are free. You are free to go to your temples. You are free to go to your mosques. That has nothing to do with the business of the state.
It was meant to settle it. Pakistan was for Muslims to be safe, not an Islamic state.
But that vision, it feels unresolved. And the sources point to his houses as a symbol of that. He never sold his mansion in Mumbai South Court.
He actually thought he'd be able to go back, that India and Pakistan would be friendly neighbors.
He genuinely seemed to hope so. Maybe spend weekends there, retire there eventually.
Instead, South Court today is
a wreck. Crumbling, empty, tangled in endless legal fights. It's a perfect metaphor, really, for that unresolved question of Pakistan's identity. Left to decay, just like his dream of peaceful coexistence.
So if Jinnah represents that secular cosmopolitan possibility, the Red Mosque, Lal Masjid, in Islamabad represents the complete opposite, the theocratic drive.
And the man at the center of that, Abdul Rashid Ghazi, his life story is Pakistan's contradictions in miniature.
He didn't start out radical, did he?
Not at all. He was a glamour boy. Educated, worked at UNESCO, wore smart suits, read Western philosophers, Nietzsche, Rousseau.
So what flipped the switch? What turned him?
It wasn't just theology, it was political, personal. He believed the military was involved in assassinating his father, who was also a cleric.
Ah, so his faith in the state and the rule of law just shattered.
Completely. And he swung violently towards Islamism, taking over the Red Mosque complex with his brother.
Then came 2007, the siege. That really brought things to a head.
It started with the female students from the Jamia Hafsa Madrasa attached to the mosque.
The chicks with sticks.
That's what the media called them. Head to toe in black burqas, but carrying wooden staves, acting like vigilantes. Smashing DVD shops, kidnapping people they accused of running brothels.
And they weren't messing around, threatening to become suicide bombers.
Pakistan's first female suicide bombers, yeah. Demanding full Islamic law right there in the capital.
The whole thing was bizarre, though. Ghazi himself. His intellectual heroes were Che Guevara and Fidel Castro.
While demanding 7th century Sharia, he used this universal rhetoric of social justice, anti-imperialism. He even tried to compare his crackdown on vice to Rudy Giuliani cleaning up New York City.
It's almost hard to comprehend that mix.
It was deeply unstable, and it ended violently. His brother, Abdul Aziz, was caught trying to escape wearing a burqa, huge public humiliation on TV.
And then Ghazi himself was killed in the army assault.
Right. And that siege, that whole episode, it became this watershed moment. The source calls it the first flame of a jihadi firestorm.
Because the backlash was immediate and brutal.
Within a month, the Army Commando unit that led the assault was hit by a suicide bomber. And then, September 2008, that massive truck bomb at the Marriott Hotel, Islamabad suddenly felt like Baghdad.
That violence, it became this twisted form of rebellion for some, didn't it? Against the state, against inequality.
And it crystallized that fundamental question we keep coming back to. Who is the good Muslim in Pakistan? Is it the liberal, tolerant follower of Jinnah? Or is it the radical cleric like Ghazi willing to use violence for purity?
We'll see that question play out again in the cities later. But first, let's shift focus from the ideological heartland to the physical frontier.
Right. Section 4, out to the tribal belt, where it's less about ideology and more about ancient codes clashing with the modern state.
And the perfect character to embody this is Anwar Kamal Khan, a Pashtun politician.
Oh, Kamal Khan, what a figure. Theatrical, larger than life, totally unapologetic.
Famous for saying his traditions were more holy than the law of my country.
Exactly. He saw the state's laws as corrupt, weak. But the Pashtun code, Pashtunwali, that was eternal. Real.
And Pashtunwali covers a lot, right? Hospitality, sanctuary.
Deep sense of honor in Narmuz. And absolutely central is Badal revenge.
It's not optional, is it?
Not at all. It's a moral duty. Feuds over land, women, murder, they can last generations. Kamal Khan himself said it. You never forgive, wait 20, 30, 50 years, and then you take revenge. There's no statute of limitations.
And you see that reflected in the buildings, the constant need for defense.
Yeah, but defense often against your own cousins. Every big building house, mosque, even gas stations has a burj.
A fortified tower. Medieval looking.
With loopholes for shooting, specifically designed for fending off retaliatory attacks from relatives.
The sources have this incredible story about Kamal Khan that shows his two worlds. He's a modern politician, allied with Sharif, flying to Islamabad.
Yet he sleeps with a rocket launcher under his bed back home.
Just in case.
And then there was the incident with the Batani tribe kidnapping 2 women from his Marwa tribe.
That was a massive breach of honor of Namuz.
Unprecedented, Kamal Khan called it. A total breakdown. He felt he had no choice but massive immediate retaliation to restore his tribe's honor.
And his weapon of choice was not subtle.
Not subtle at all. A World War II anti-aircraft gun. An ACAC gun, the kind used against German bombers.
He hauled this thing out.
Hauled it to the front line, aimed it at the rival family's burj, and fired 7 or 8 rounds. Flattened part of the tower, killed 2 men inside.
Wow. That must have caused huge problems.
What it did, it got messy, costly. His tribe ended up paying something like $260,000 in blood money to settle things and stop the feud escalating further.
But when asked if it was worth it,
His answer was simple. Did you restore your honor? And we did. For him and for his community, the logic of Pashtunwali just trumped everything else, state law, even religious rules sometimes. It had to be done.
that tension between the center and the periphery, it's even more extreme in Balochistan, isn't it? Another huge frontier region.
Yeah, where the locals talk about waging the war of the flea.
Balochistan is paradoxical, too. Geographically massive, incredibly rich in resources.
Gold, copper, uranium. It's got huge potential wealth.
But the people living there?
Abject poverty. Some of the worst social indicators, health, education in the entire country, and that deep resentment over who gets the resource money that fuels these long-running insurgencies.
The current rebellion, the fifth one, really ties back to one figure, Nawab Akbar Bugti.
Ah, Bugti. Another character full of contradictions. An eccentric tribal chief.
High society snob, apparently. Red Homer and Gotha wore Pringle sweaters.
But also reportedly failed his own tribal elders in an English exam because they couldn't handle the poetry. Didn't have much time for mullahs either, called sin their meal ticket.
His big fight was over the Sui gas fields, right?
Yeah.
Located in his territory.
Exactly. The central government wasn't giving the Baloch people what he considered a fair share of the royalties.
And he wasn't afraid to push back. That story about the general.
Oh, yeah. He subjected this two-star general, sent to negotiate, to such a torrent of inventive, highly personalized insults that the general apparently just fled.
And when facing the Pakistani military's power, that's when he coined the war of the flea analogy.
That's right. The state is the dog, huge, powerful. The insurgency is the flea. It bites, the dog snaps and scratches, but the flea jumps away. It's this endless, debilitating fight for the state.
But Musharraf's government decided to go for the kill shot, take out the leader.
They did. In 2006, military forces killed Bugti.
And Musharraf thought, job done.
He thought it was a huge victory, but it completely backfired. Killing Bugti instantly erased all his flaws, the snobbery, the opportunism, and turned him into a powerful martyr for Baloch nationalism.
Another massive strategic blunder by the military.
Absolutely. His death just poured fuel on the fire. It kicked off Balochistan's fifth and probably most serious rebellion, which is still simmering today.
And they still guard his grave.
Yeah, the sources mention a watchtower, permanently manned by soldiers, to stop anyone turning it into a shrine or a rallying point.
Okay, so this constant pressure, military interference, ideological fights, it defines the frontiers, but it comes right into the cities too.
Which brings us to Section 5, the urban extremes, Karachi and Lahore, where that question of Pakistan's identity gets fought out, often violently.
Karachi first, the engine room.
Yeah, Pakistan's wallet, its BlackBerry, its cologne, it's where money talks louder than anything else. A chaotic melting pot, constantly drawing migrants.
Including so many Pashtuns that it's now, astonishingly, a bigger Pashtun city than Kabul or Peshawar.
Which gives it this incredible, almost frantic energy and resilience. Life just snaps back after violence because people have to work, they have to survive.
But beneath that surface,
the rot is deep, collapsing infrastructure, power cuts, sewage problems, and crucially, the land mafia.
Tell us about them.
The sources highlight how damaging they are. This network of politicians, generals, criminals, they just grab public land, parks, mangroves, anything reserved, build on it with total impunity.
The very visible symbol of corruption.
Exactly. It just eats away at the city and frustrates everyone trying to make things work properly.
But it's maybe in Lahore where the ideological battle becomes most stark, most lethal, centered around the blasphemy laws.
And the figure of Salman Taseer, the governor of Punjab.
Describe him for us.
Affluent, part of the Lahore elite, loved history, fundamentally believed in Jinnah's tolerant vision for Pakistan.
But his personal lifestyle.
Was very liberal, enjoyed his scotch, wasn't known for fasting or regular prayer, seen as a sinner by conservatives, which made him a target.
And he took a very public stand on the Asia Bibi case.
He did. This Christian woman sentenced to death for blasphemy after basically a village squabble. Taseer was genuinely outraged. He visited her in jail.
And he didn't mince words about the judiciary either.
Called the judges spineless, bloody judges. Said somebody had to stand up for Jinnah's Pakistan, the tolerant version.
That public stance cost him his life.
It did. Assassinated in 2011 by his own police bodyguard, Mumtaz Qadri, in broad daylight.
And Qadri immediately became a hero to the religious right.
Which led to that truly chilling scene described in the sources, Qadri's court hearing.
Hundreds of lawyers. The people meant to uphold the law.
Thronging the court, chanting slogans for Qadri, showering him with rose petals, offering to defend him for free. It was the state's legal system celebrating the killer of a governor who defended the law.
And the trial itself became an ideological battlefield.
Completely. The defense wasn't just trying to get Qadri off, they were effectively trying to prosecute Taseer after his death. By using passages from a memoir written by Taseer's estranged son, detailing the drinking and swearing in the family home. The argument was, Taseer was a fallen Muslim, his lifestyle was un-Islamic, therefore Qadri was justified.
Bring us right back to that question. Who is the good Muslim? The state couldn't even agree on that.
Exactly. But standing against that tide, against the military, against the extremists, was Asma Jahangir.
The fabulous senorita, a legendary human rights lawyer.
Absolutely fearless,
Hello.
constantly battling the establishment. Remember when Musharraf banned mixed-sex races to appease conservatives?
Jahangir organized her own mini-marathon in protest.
Running alongside men and women. The police broke it up violently, beat people.
She was back a week later.
Back out there, telling the press, "We will not be cowed by Musharraf or the mullahs." She famously said you couldn't be a self-respecting Pakistani citizen unless you'd been to jail at least once.
She also had that sharp insight about authoritarian progress, didn't she?
Yes, that great quote about Musharraf's minor reforms. Even Hitler made very good roads. That doesn't mean his system was the right one. She saw that infrastructure doesn't excuse tyranny.
And the threats against her were constant and serious.
Death threats from the Taliban were routine. They found a magnetic bomb on her car once. But the really chilling thing came from U.S. intelligence.
The Defense Intelligence Agency. Yeah.
Yes, the DIA picked up intel showing an active ISI plot to eliminate her, either in Pakistan or India, specifically to quiet public criticism of the military.
That shows how dangerous they thought her voice was.
Absolutely. But did she flee?
No. She figured publicity was her best protection, went straight on TV, and exposed the plot.
Incredible courage. And her defiance, like that of so many other activists, it speaks volumes about Pakistan's ability to endure, doesn't it? Despite everything.
It really does. Which leads us to the final part, the synthesis. How does Pakistan survive these contradictions that seem like they should tear it apart?
Well, across all the sources, you see one phrase cropping up again and again. It's like a national motto, a philosophy, almost a security blanket.
Inshallah.
Inshallah, if God wills it.
You hear it everywhere. The pilot saying, Inshallah, we will be landing shortly.
Which is both terrifying and weirdly comforting. It represents this kind of collective faith, maybe fatalism, that things will just muddle through somehow. Because they always have. It allows people to cope with the seemingly impossible.
And sometimes things do get better, at least for a while. The Peshawar school massacre in 2014 was a horrific turning point.
132 school children killed by the Taliban? Appalling. But it finally jolted the military, under massive public pressure, into taking real action against the so-called bad Taliban in the tribal areas.
And it worked.
The sources show it had a huge impact. Violence dropped dramatically. Suicide attacks went from 46 in 2013 down to just 4 in 2019. Deaths plummeted. It proved the state can restore order when it acts decisively and unitedly.
But the old problems don't just vanish.
No, the underlying issues persist. The political games continue. Sharif gets jailed again, exiled. Imran Khan comes in on an anti-corruption platform, but ends up looking authoritarian himself, maybe ceding power back to the military.
And the military's own PR machine keeps churning.
Oh, yes. Pro-military TV channels pop up. You even had the bizarre sight of retired dictator Musharraf hosting his own TV show from exile, trying to spin his legacy.
And the insurgencies haven't gone away either. Balochistan.
Still simmering, now using social media to show graphic images because the mainstream Pakistani media won't cover their struggle. The core grievances remain unaddressed.
So this fundamental ideological fight, the one Jinnah started, the one Taseer died for, the one the ISI tries to manage, it's still the central drama.
And it comes back again to the fate of the founders' homes. It's such a powerful symbol.
Jinnah's 2 houses, the summer residence near Quetta, where he spent his last days.
Bombed by Baloch separatists in 2013. They renovated quickly, but the act itself, attacking the founders' resting place, it was deeply symbolic.
And then there's South Court in Mumbai, the dream house he never returned to.
Still crumbling, still locked in legal limbo after his daughter died. One house attacked by rebels, the other paralyzed by bureaucracy and history.
It feels like those 2 houses perfectly capture the state of the nation, doesn't it? Constantly struggling with its own foundations, its own identity.
It really does. Which leaves us with a final thought for you, the listener, to really ponder.
If a nation's physical roots and its founding ideals remain so contested, so unresolved, after all this time, is that resilience we see just deep faith, that inshallah spirit?
Or is it something more tragic? Is it just perhaps a temporary holding pattern before something fundamental has to give?
A provocative question indeed.
Yeah.
And we'll leave you to think on that as you reflect on the glorious and often terrifying chaos of Pakistan.
Thanks for diving deep with us today.